Ladies and gentlemen, the Goblin Scrap Tank. And last I left off, I got the figure glued on, and what I did is I drilled a small hole in his foot and into the base and put a small pin, pinned him to the base so he won't fall off. And instead of painting him on a painting handle or a vise of that nature, I went ahead and glued him on the base, and I painted him directly on the base. And I actually had a handle, it just saved a little time. Didn't really need to, I could paint the back and weather it, but I didn't really need to completely shade the back because you're not really going to see it. And I paint figures a tad bit differently than most. For example, when I paint a figure, I get all the base colors on him, as in like the greens, the silvers, you can see the browns, and the Cat Warrior's little light brown fur color. And instead of painting each shadow or highlight with a paintbrush, I get the base coats on, and then I go in with filter washes, and I'll do like a deep dark, and I'll kind of put another lighter than that and a little bit lighter than that. Just build up the layers in the shadows, and not necessarily have to go in with highlights. I usually use a little dry brushing just to get him, the highlights of the shirts and pants, and just that's just my style of doing it. And I do it the same way with facial features. A lot of washes and then a little bit of dry brushing, because at 28 millimeter, that's those, you're not going to see too much of the whites of the eyes. And it's just a lot of shadows. And I do basically a lot of filter washes for figures and build it all the way up. So after I got him painted, I concentrated on the base here, on the groundwork, and I painted the basically a flat earth, since it is a kind of a hard earthy tone. Took a lot of pigment powders around the tank, and wanted the dust effect, and where dirt and grime would get into the track with the pigment powders. And then for the grass and everything, there's a couple ways you can do it. I find this easy enough for me, and I find it realistic, is I use the Woodland Scenic. I don't use actually sometimes they mark these down, and when they do mark them down, they got a ton of turf, grass, all kinds of stuff. It's actually cheaper to buy that really than buy the big tubs. And I always do this for grass. I try to get the dark brown, a little bit of a light green, and maybe a green, and then you got the I want to call it lichen. But the turf here, mix that up, mix your own little combo colors. And I went with more of a kind of a darker green, and it works out really well. Sometimes it needs to be painted. You can actually paint that and get you a different tone, or sometimes you can apply it directly on and get a nice effect for little grass work. And I think it works out pretty darn slick. This was a very fun model, all 3D printed except for the palm tree, which was store-bought. And that was a very fun and a unique piece to have for the collection. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I got going on today. I finished up the Cat Warrior, who's the commander of the Goblin Scrap Tank, and finished off the little vignette of the Goblin Scrap Tank. So that's what I got going on today, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned for the next exciting episode.